Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live. It is programme number 78 and it's great to have your company as always. We're live on a Monday. I don't know what that's going to mean to us all, but hey, live on a Monday at noon, and it's great to have you with us today. On the show today, my special guest from Manchester is Neil Clough, the Apprentice finalist who went on to build a highly successful sales, training and recruitment business. He's also a motivational public speaker as well, for that matter. And if you remember back to watching The Apprentice, must be now 2 years ago or thereabouts, you might remember that the scenario was that they had to go out there and build some form of a business day, a motivational day for some companies. One of the teams, they went out and they brought in an external motivational speaker, and to everybody's surprise, Neil Clough stepped up to the plate and he said, you know what, let's save some money. I can do that. And actually, since then, he did it very, very well. Everybody was very surprised. I don't know whether that's good or bad. And then since then, he's actually gone on to do regular motivational speaking and actual business speaking at some of the larger events up and down and across the country. Neil, it's great to have you with us. You're up there in Manchester. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Hi Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Now we've got you on Skype today, so obviously we've got the foibles of Skype, so it's been cutting in and out all the way through the morning. Going back, I mean, has life really changed since you did The Apprentice for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's The Apprentice for me has been a life-changing experience, and one that obviously I'll treasure forever, because I think 60,000 people each year, I believe they're about to apply to go onto The Apprentice, and you always think, well, why the hell would they pick me? But I got selected, and I think by taking myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, it's helped me go on to grow a successful business and really change my life. So I certainly can't complain for going through the application process.
Now, for those people that don't know, you run a couple of businesses. I mean, I did mention that you do the motivational speaking, but there's more to it than that. I get the impression the motivational speaking is just to fill in the few spare moments that you have between the other businesses that you run.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the speaking side of it is quite surreal, because that came on the back of doing a talk, as you mentioned in the intro, on The Apprentice last year, and for whatever reason, and I still don't know why, my story really hit home with the audience, and ever since then that's given me a platform to go around the country and speak at different events. And I speak at the business expos, where obviously we've met numerous times. I also speak at universities, and I also speak at schools. So it's actually being able to find out people's reasons to be motivated and why they want to go on and reach their full potential. And I really enjoy the speaking. It's great that it's continued after The Apprentice as well. You know, I always thought a year on from The Apprentice, would people still want me to go in and do the motivational speaking? Was it just a fad? But it turns out that it wasn't. It was more than that. And yeah, I absolutely love it. And if I can inspire, one or two people to actually go out there and achieve their goals and dreams, then it's doing a good work. So really enjoy it.
Now, when as we said, so the motivational speaking is one side of the business, but of course there was more to it. When you were actually on the show, they talked to you about business plans, just to bring back the horrible memories of it all.
I thought we were going to talk about business plan, Steve. I thought you was going to leave the business plan bit out.
Well, I was going to play it out actually, but I thought I'd save you the embarrassment of that, because it was surprising. I think that caught a lot of people by surprise. You put the business plan together, and all of a sudden it seemed that there were bits that were missing. There were big holes in it, and of course that was highlighted and pointed out. You obviously learned a lot from that experience then.
Yeah, I think you've been quite nice with me there, Steve, because it's probably worse, a lot worse than what you made it sound. But I did. I went into The Apprentice with an idea and a concept which was out of my comfort zone again. It was in the property sector, which I certainly don't know that much about. It was just came from a personal circumstance of not being able to sell my own property, and then thinking that actually the money that you spend on estate agents, then maybe I could do it myself for a minimal fee. So I think it just came from an experience, but I think the proof in the pudding, and they say the devil is in the detail, that because I didn't know the industry that well, I wasn't able to defend it when I came under a lot of pressure in the interview format. So the learning that I took from it really was to stick to what I know, and that's what I've done with Prime. Obviously sales is something that I've done now for 16 years. Recruitment is a sector that I've worked in. And the advice that I got from the apprentice was, don't think about being innovative, stick to what you know, stick to your skills, and focus your business around that. That's pretty much what Lord Sugar said to me. Since I've done that with Pride, we started to really take off as a business. So the advice that I was given was great, and I think the biggest thing was that I listened to it, I've taken it on board, and that's helped me now grow a successful business.
I think it is important to remember, and I think that's a good lesson for all businesses. It's to stick to what you're actually going to be good at, isn't it? It's understanding what your skills, what your attributes are, and then to go out there and to maximise the return on those skills that you've already got. Because there's no two ways about it. You are a fantastic salesman.
I try, but I think the one thing that happens is, and it is like that in business, and the apprentice, I suppose, is just the kind of the ultimate in terms of, you know, going on the biggest stage, being in front of, you know, 6 or 7 million people per week, seeing your highs and seeing your lows. So I suppose obviously that's the biggest stage, but really the message is the same in business when you're not on the TV, is that actually if you stick to what you know, you're more likely to be successful at it, because when times come, which are hard, which they do in business, you know how to deal with it, you know how to overcome it. And I think the biggest lesson that I've got is, you know, you should always learn from your failings, because I failed to win the apprentice down to one thing. You know, my performance was great. I did it. I gave it everything I possibly could. I broke a record for the most sales ever made, and it went on. But actually, to get to the end, it meant nothing, because it was then all about the business plan. And if I'd listened or didn't take on board the advice, I could have gone back into my job, left the dream of being an entrepreneur to one side, and actually just gone back into work. But I thought, you know what? I've got to learn from the mistake that I made in regards to the business plan, and put some good to that. And ever since then, I have, you know, sticking to sales, which is, as you said, which is probably my only skill, to be honest. I've done that, and now we've got a successful business. So I think that the lesson is, don't give up when you fail, learn from where you go wrong, and stick to your strengths.
I don't want to harp on about The Apprentice. So final question on that before we talk about the key things that we're going to be talking about today, which is really about Prime and also my travel plan, before we get onto that, which are the other two businesses. When you looked back at the programme, everything is in the edit. You can make somebody look good, or you can make somebody look bad in the edit. The way you portrayed on the programme is not the Neil Clough that I've come to know. Do you feel that when you watch it back? Because you don't seem to be the same bloke. You were a bit more hard-nosed, I think, in the edit. You know, very different. Or were you very hard-nosed? I mean, did we see Neil Clough on The Apprentice, or do I see Neil Clough when we meet up at the shows?
I suppose it's a bit of both, isn't it? Because the actual The Apprentice is different, because you're under a pressurised environment. You're not there to make friends. You're there to win The Apprentice and get 250k investment into your business. So, you know, it's never going to be easy. And unfortunately, you know, things get said, and, you know, as you say, you know, the edit can help or go against you. But at the same time, we do say these things, and I've heard a lot of the apprentices that have come off the shows and said that, you know, they got a poor edit and it didn't show the right side. But I kind of think, well, you have to put yourself out there. It's a competition, and it wasn't there to be easy. So I would agree in terms of I'm probably not like that on a day-to-day basis. I am very driven, I am very ambitious, and I'm really passionate. So all those skills are the same. But what you see on The Apprentice isn't always what you get. And the one thing that I've really tried to do for the last 12 months since The Apprentice is work on being known for being an entrepreneur. Obviously, The Apprentice was part of my entrepreneurial journey, but I want to be known for somebody that's successful in business. And for me, that's what I've worked on for the last 12 months. And The Apprentice has given me a platform to do that. But at the same time, you know, it does have its challenges, because sometimes maybe people don't take you as seriously in the business world because they see you from a TV show. So for me, to be invited back to some of the business shows where I meet you, Steve, to speak and talk about business, for me is a massive, you know, plus point, because actually people are seeing me for being an entrepreneur and good at business now, as well as for the apprentice experience. So I'll never want to change it, because it's part of my journey. But at the same time, it's great that now we're talking, you know, about business as well as the apprentice as well. For me, that's a big achievement.
Now, when you go along and you do the motivational speaking, and trust me, we will get on the Prime and my travel plan in a second, but when you do the motivational speaking, what's the key element that you're trying to get over to your audience?
I suppose there's the key point really is your why. What is your reason to be motivated, and what is your reason to go out there and be successful? Because mine has never been, and my personal reason has never been money. It actually came down to, unfortunately, when my dad passed away. At the time, I was a budding football player, and
All right, then, looks like Skype has beaten us on that story. Oh, we got you back again. Yeah, you're back again. Sorry, you were saying about when your dad passed away, Neil. Yeah, I tell you what, we'll redial Neil during this. I want to hear that story. Very important. And this is the frustration sometimes of using Skype. Fantastic system, by the way, but sometimes when it's very high load and things like that, it can cause you a few issues. Neil Clough is my special guest today. He is the Apprentice finalist who went on to build a highly successful sales, training and recruitment business. In just a few moments' time, we're going to be talking to him about My Travel Plan, which is one of the two companies that he owns. But the other area as well is also Prime. Now, Prime is a recruitment consultancy, a recruitment company. And what they will do is that they will help you to get the right job for you. That's what this is all about. That's what Prime does. They've got a fantastic website. If you're not familiar with the way recruitment organisations work, Neil's going to be telling us more. You're back with us again. Heaven knows, who knows for how long. But you were saying about your dad, when your dad passed away. Can you hear me there, Neil?
Yeah, I've got you back. Sorry.
That's okay. You were saying when your dad passed away, and we lost you about then.
Yeah. Okay. Really, obviously, going back to the motivational speaking, it was about my reason and your reason to be motivated, and mine came through the toughest part of my life when my father passed away from cancer. And at the time, I was a football player, and that's all I was ever good at. And what my dad wanted me to do was fulfill my dream to be a football player. But when he passed away, the motivation to be a footballer died with him, and I decided to turn my back on football and go into business. So the reason why I'm so motivated is, I want to prove to my dad and make him proud that I turned my back on football to be successful in business. And when I go out there and tell that story, what I always say is it's not about me and it's not about my journey, it's about what yours is. And if you've got a reason that gets you out of bed, a reason that gets you up when you fail, you're more likely to be successful, because when your reason to be motivated is for somebody else and not just your self benefit, i.e. in my case to make my dad proud, you're more likely to get up when you fail. So the biggest thing for me is obviously that reason of why you're motivated, and go out there and reach your full potential.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of those businesses that you set up, some of the lessons that you've learned, also for Prime as well. I was just mentioning it there. I mean, the recruitment industry is a very competitive industry, and I think a lot of people don't realise that getting a job is actually very competitive to do. You've really got to have your onions about you when you're going out there and you're getting a job. You've got to be very focused. It's probably the most important sales job that any individual actually has. You're selling yourself. You're selling your skills. You're selling your experience, and you're selling that to somebody else, and you've got to do it nearly in that elevator pitch moment. You haven't got long to do it, and that's why professional recruitment organisations can give you a bit of a leg up. They can give you a bit of a head start. They can maybe plan that career progression that you have to make certain that you maximise your return on your investment into getting that job. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Also, My Travel Plan. What's that all about? We'll find out very shortly right here on Business Connections Live. Right now, though, time to have a look back at last week's programme. We had Matthew Hall. It was our budget special. Matthew is a partner with Wilkins Kennedy Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. He came in on the programme to talk us through what happened during the budget. I suppose on reflection, not very much really. A lot had already been put into place, and it was really just a bit of a reminder. Good, bad budget, very difficult sometimes. There were some things in there for business. Just to give you a bit of a reminder of what happened on last week's programme, here's Matthew Hall from Business Connections Live. On this budget special is Matthew Hall, partner with Wilkins Kennedy chartered accountants and business advisors, who's going to be helping us talk through what the actual budget means to you and to your business as well. Will it have a big impact? Are there things that have happened last Wednesday that you should be aware of, or have things already been happening and it's just really a bit of a catch-up?
I mean, there's no two ways about it. There are still some people that use their accountant for the once a year, this is the compliance we must do. But for a lot of business working more strategic, looking at their tax structuring and things like that, and for those clients, I'll be with them on a very regular basis. But I think probably what's focused attention is availability of finance, and the fact that people are actually, or businesses of all sizes, particularly small businesses, very much more conscious of cash flow and the likes. And when a lot of businesses are operating on reduced margins, lower margins than they would have been years ago. But for mistakes with tax returns, be it VAT returns, be it pay as you earn, be it the annual tax return, the revenue now are very much into penalties for careless behaviour and things like that. And you can end up with penalties quite easily for what a quite simple mistake. I mean, when I started, one understood evasion illegal, avoidance fine, that's legal. Where are we? What actually happened was this market started with what are now being termed as aggressive avoidance schemes, and that's been a market which has been around for a long time. But it's probably fair to say that late 90s, early 2000s, and indeed right up to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was a market that was growing and growing, and more people were being drawn into this. So technically, the avoidance schemes were legal. We've obviously, there have been various high-profile people who have been named as taking part in these schemes. But the way in which those schemes are sort of set up is that you've got a small number of advisors who are looking for the loopholes in the legislation. What I'm actually more concerned about is the fact that as the waters get muddied, what I call the sensible planning, starting with the client, that starts to get eroded, because suddenly there's momentum shifting against this whole unacceptable tax avoidance. In terms of the revenue, I think the thing that we need to get is more consistency from the revenue. And there's no question about the fact that with an election around the corner, it was always going to affect the budget. So in terms of announcements that we had on Wednesday, reasonably few, to be honest with you. Obviously, the Chancellor stood up and told us that the economy's going great guns, employment is up, growth, I think one of the fastest growing major economies, and so I think we've got a bit of a ditty there, just comparing the growth in the UK to other major economies. And one of the major tax reliefs at the moment is research and development. You get an uplift on your expenditure. For small and medium-sized businesses, for every £1 you spend, you get tax relief on £2.30. I mean, this is an excellent route for getting funding into business. So it's tax relief for investors who are investing into trading businesses. Of course, one of the markets which really has grown is peer-to-peer lending, and it's really fair to say that it doesn't have a tax regime. The idea is that it's going to be automatically populated with details of your other income from other sources, that you can make payments on account. One of my colleagues was talking on this, saying she doesn't quite know why people would want to pay their tax early. Excellent. Good afternoon, I'm Matthew Hall, Head of Tax at Wilkins Kennedy. I've been speaking about the budget and the key takeaways from that. It's probably that there was actually little in it for business measures, but do look at investment into plant and equipment. The annual investment allowance, that's going to drop at the end of the year, so you might need to accelerate investment there. For those of you who are either looking at raising finance or looking at investing in business, think about Enterprise Investment Scheme. There's some excellent tax reliefs there. Perhaps not used as much as it should be, but it's an excellent regime, and I would certainly advise all businesses to look at that. And the third one is my cheat. It's a point that I hadn't mentioned so far, and it's that the pension regime is changing after the year end, making it easier to access pension schemes. Now the government is expecting to pick up a lot of money through this, so they're obviously expecting a lot of people to start accessing their pension funds, and it is a way of unlocking capital which perhaps could be invested into businesses. So I'll certainly look at that. And the final one really goes back from the earlier conversation, is that do use your accountant and your tax advisor. They really should have a lot of information, a lot of advice that they can give you in terms of reducing overall tax liability and also raising finance. So that's me, Matthew Hall, Head of Tax at Wilkins Kennedy.
Fascinating show, actually. Matthew Hall there. He's from Wilkins Kennedy Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. A great show. In fact, if you want to find out some additional information concerning how the budget's going to be affecting your particular business, we've got a small, special, additional bonus piece of material that you can get if you go to our website at www.businessconnectionslive.com. Great. My guest today is Neil Clough, Apprentice finalist, but actually entrepreneur. I think we should start calling him just entrepreneur. The Apprentice finalist always feels that we're looking back and we should be looking forward. Neil actually operates two companies, one called Prime, which is a recruitment company. Got the website actually here, so we can just have a quick gander. This is it. Welcome to Prime, the sales and training specialist, recruitment and training specialist. And it is everything that you need when it comes, if you're a sales professional, if you're a candidate, if you're looking to get out there. You can see some of the promises there, how it works. You're the candidate. Now, this is different because a lot of businesses don't do this. You've got candidate, training day, and then placement. Now, a lot of recruitment companies, what they will do is that you as a candidate will go to them, they'll skip out the training bit, they'll go straight to placement where they can get their money. And what they've done at Prime is to put this training day in there. And just to read a little bit, it says on the screen, we believe that developing talent is the key to sales success. Our Prime Zone training days are simply win-win. We get to spot the top talent, you get to enhance your skill set, you also get to showcase your talent to our clients. It's a different approach to recruitment. A lot of companies don't do that. What they'll do is you'll send in your CV, you can load it up electronically as you can with many recruitment companies, you'll send in your CV, and their motivation for a lot of companies is that they just want to place you so they get their payback. The difference here is that what they want to do is they want to place you forever. They want to get you in there. They want to be building a relationship between you as the candidate and also them as the people that place you. But more importantly, if they do the job right with you for their client, the company that they're placing you in, that client will come back to them on a regular basis. And that's what's so important about Prime. Would I be right in saying that it is all about being, really giving super service to your clients and to your candidates?
Yeah, we've tried to really go into a marketplace which can be quite challenging, and our kind of perception of sales is to try and change that perception so that sales becomes a career of choice and not a career that you fall into. So, for example, not many people go to university and think, I want to be a salesman at the end of their degree. They fall into it, they start to earn good money from it, and obviously they use that as their career. So for me, what we're trying to do is show that sales is a great career for you, whether you go to university or not, and actually should be a career that should be of choice and not just what you fall into. The actual Prime business and the concept is quite unique because we offer 3 training days where we invite people along that are looking to get into sales, and we train and develop them over a 3 or 4 hour period, and we assess their skills through training, with the concept being quite different to the traditional assessment day of what a typical recruiter would use. Because what we believe is if you're going to make a good salesperson, you have to adapt quickly to the skills and new skills that you're given. So we do that, we give the candidate skills, we see how they adapt, and then we use those to place them to the right profile of our clients. What we also then do is offer them ongoing training for their first year of employment, because sales is target driven, it's pressurized, it can be tough. So we don't only just stop there with the training, we give them 7 days worth of recruitment specific training over their first year of employment. So it is quite unique, it is quite different, and we're really proud to be getting, you know, where we are so far in a short space of time.
That really does differentiate you, doesn't it, from other recruitment companies, though? And I wasn't being unfair to them. I mean, recruitment companies are out to make money, and the way they make their money is by placing people in positions, and then there's a return on doing that placement. But the thing is that by making certain that the placement works and is 100% right, it means that you're going to be generating more business because you're going to be seen as experts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, recruitment, and there's a lot of great recruitment businesses out there. So, you know, that's the first thing that I would say. We just believe that we wanted to go into a tough marketplace and do things slightly differently. And our utilisation of training, which is what makes us quite unique, is what makes us different in a crowded marketplace. And it really comes down to standing out from your competition and doing things differently. But I've got a real passion for sales, and I've got a real passion for helping people make sales a career choice, as I said, not just something that you fall into. So for me, to go around, particularly with young people, but it doesn't have to be, train and develop them and see them growing their skills and getting them their dream roles is something that I'm really passionate about. And it's great to see more and more people now wanting to get into recruitment and sales as an industry.
What do you think the biggest mistakes are that people actually make when they come to you? Is it that they don't understand really what the job's about, or they don't understand what truly sales is about, or are they just completely unprepared when they arrive at Prime's door?
I say we work with a mixture of people. We work with graduates. We also work with people that maybe have worked in sales for maybe 1 or 2 years. But what we do is we take them, we develop them, and then we build up they've already got to make them perfect for the roles that we then place them with clients. But I think the biggest issue that we have probably starts before you actually meet your candidates and they send in their CV. Because for me, you get the same jargon in everybody's CV. So I'm committed, I'm passionate, and all these types of words that people use. But what does that actually mean? Because in a CV, you can't show how committed and passionate you are. So my kind of advice to anyone when submitting a CV is think about what makes you stand out from the crowd, what makes you slightly unique, what makes you different, and focus on your key achievements as your headline rather than the statement around being committed and passionate. Focus on your achievements, and they could be sporting achievements, they could be academic achievements, but what have you really achieved so far in your lifetime? Focus on them as the headline, and then for me that will gain interest from the employers and hopefully stand out from the other 100 CVs that they may get on their desk.
And it is all about standing out, isn't it? It's all about highlighting what your profile is. But I think the trouble that many business people have, and we see this when they're actually trying to sell a product even, they don't understand what the important thing is. It's all down to this. Remember, it's all about benefits and it's all about features, but it's also about highlighting an issue. For instance, when I was doing shopping telly, it would always be highlight the problem and then bring them the solution. And a lot of people will waffle around that and they won't be able to identify what they are bringing to the business.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Steve. Anything that you sell, and one thing that we do at Prime, as well as obviously recruitment, we will provide you with the best salespeople we believe with the right skills. But the other thing that we do is we also do training. So we go into businesses and we train their current staff. And one thing that we really focus on there is obviously making sure that the people that we're training understand their product, understand exactly the product or the service that they're selling, because whatever it is that you purchase, you're always, or when you're selling, you're always trying to give a solution to a problem. So in recruitment, we're trying to give a solution to the problem that we get the right person, maybe because it's a growing business or maybe they're replacing someone. So if you can find out exactly and understand the needs of the client and exactly what they're looking for, then you're more likely to sell. And I think the biggest issue you have with salespeople is we try and talk too much. Obviously, I'm one of them, but we try and oversell. And for me, the biggest skill in sales is listening, because if you attain the needs of your client, you can match a solution to their problem every time. But if you don't listen and you don't get to know your client, then how do you know that you're going to give the right solution?
And that's really good advice. And it's interesting, we've got Paul Glynn coming back on the programme in a couple of weeks' time. Now, Paul was on the programme, he's been on it twice now, and we've been talking about sales, how really it's a Sanderson technique that he uses and he trains on, where you're actually trying to find the pain in your customer. So you're trying to relieve the pain in your customer. So in fact, you don't do the close, your customer will do the close. And it's a different kind of a back to front way of doing it. I felt very uncomfortable the first time I heard it, but the more I've been thinking about it, the more it actually works, because in day-to-day life, when you're doing sales, or in day-to-day life when you're resolving somebody's problem, you're feeling their pain and you're coming up with a solution. Well, surely sales is nothing more than that. Somebody is buying from you because they have a need, and it's just identifying the need and then fulfilling it. And that's really what sales is all about. There's always this thing, though, about asking for the order, isn't there? Going for the close. And you've never been backward in coming forward when it says, do you want this or don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think 80% of sales are lost because sales doesn't have the confidence to ask the business. And we've got a motto at Prime, and is if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And it's a very simple thing, but you can build the best rapport in the world, you can find out the needs of your client.
Hang on a second, that's easy for you to say, but once again, Skype has beaten us on that particular answer. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company as always. Don't forget some of the guests that are coming up. We're not going to have a programme on Easter Monday, so we're taking a day off. We're going to be taking a break on Easter Monday, but on Monday the 13th of April our guest is going to be Kate Cook. She's a nutritionist and author of 5 books. Should be really interesting on that, and you may be wondering, well, what's that got to do with business? Well, Kate will explain all. Kate is also a sought after keynote speaker across the corporate sector on well-being in the workplace, and I think a lot of people sometimes forget that you've got to be in the right place. I mean, I wasn't particularly well a couple of years back. If I hadn't been surrounded by good friends, then I don't think I'd have been in the place that I am today. You know, being well in the workplace is important. Being surrounded by people who understand and work together as a team is very important as well. So, she's going to be on the program. That's Kate Cook on the 13th of April as our guest here on Business Connections Live. I was talking as well about some of our future guests as well. Paul Glynn from Standard Training West 25. He's going to be joining us as well. He's going to be looking at how Davids, that's you, handle the Goliaths. That's the big corporates. So he's going to be talking about that. That's going to be a fascinating program. I love Paul. He does great shows. Ian Dixon, multi-award winning business performance coach and motivational speaker. He's going to be joining us as well. He's the founder of Unlock Success Limited. He's going to be on the programme. And have you ever thought about having a radio campaign for your business? We put together radio campaigns here at Business Connections Live for large corporate customers. But have you ever thought about how do the nuts and bolts of a radio campaign really work? Would it work for your business? How big should you or do you need to be for a radio campaign to be effective? Well, we'll have a guy called Richard Tidyman. He's going to be joining us. I've known Richard for a long while. What he doesn't know about radio advertising, putting the ads together, the scheduling, how to get the most impacts on your campaign really isn't worth knowing about. So if you've ever thought to yourself, do you know, I fancy having a bit of a bash at radio, I fancy using it, you could find that radio is maybe a more cost-effective solution than going out and maybe using local newspapers. And in fact, we've just run a campaign, a recruitment campaign in association with Richard, and it's been very successful. So, would radio work for your business? Well, you can find out. He'll be joining us to talk about radio advertising. To my amazement, you may well be back.
Can you hear me?
No, we didn't. We got every second word. We're going to edit that one together, I think. And I don't even think we were getting every second word. I think we were getting every third. Go, you were saying before, go on, if you can do that last little trilogy again, we'll see if we can get through it. Dagnammit, we're going to beat this Skype thing if it kills us.
A lot of people would say, Steve, that actually it's probably better if you only hear one of my 5 words that I use anyway. So it could probably make a good conversation still. But every cloud has a silver lining, I think, is what they say. But yeah, I think we were obviously chatting about training before technology took its worst course for us, and our belief at Prime around matching a solution to the problem is getting to know your clients and your customers. So for me, the key to selling is through building rapport by asking the right questions so you can match that solution to the problem. But we use a real simple technique, and what I would always say when I train people is keep things simple. So actually, the 80-20 rule, well, the 80-20 rule for us is 80% of the conversation and the words should be coming from the lips of the client, and the other 20% should be then you pitching your solution to the problem. So the 80-20 rule for me is something to always consider, because actually, if your client's talking for 80% of the conversation, the likelihood is you're building rapport, the likelihood is you're finding out their needs, and the likelihood is you will close. But if you don't ask for the business at the end of that, then it's criminal, because 80% of sales are lost because the salesman doesn't ask for the business. And for me, there's easy ways to do it. It doesn't have to be aggressive closing. It can be just as simple as, if you're happy with everything we've gone through today, are we going to go ahead with that order? You know, real soft closing, but if you ask, the chances are you'll get a yes. And if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
A lot of people actually avoid that point, isn't it, where they say that they're afraid of the rejection. So they're very, very frightened of actually saying, look, do you want this or don't you? It's the old classic sale for the car, isn't it? What colour would you like? Yellow or green? And when would you like it delivered? Wednesday or Friday?
I think the thing is with it, Steve, is, you know, sales is quite challenging. But for me, it's not about closing and hard. What it's about is building rapport, because actually,
his mouth is moving, but nothing's coming out. Some would say that would be good for me. Actually, I tell you what we're going to do, Neil. We're going to redial you there, I think, and we'll try. It seems to be getting worse as lunchtime is coming on. That's Skype, but you know, Skype has its advantages. Sometimes you can get a fantastic line, and sometimes you have a bit of a problem. Neil Clough is my guest today, the Apprentice finalist who went on to build a highly successful sales training and recruitment business. And I hope you're getting the essence of what we're talking about here. That what you're talking about as a recruitment company can actually can help you get a better job when it comes to going out there and looking for your next sales position. Listen, just in case we do lose you, Neil, let's talk a little bit about the other business, My Travel Pal. Now, that's the one that I saw that you kind of launched, what, a year ago now, 18 months ago?
Yeah, that's right. Can you hear me again, Steve?
I can, and it's all in sync now. But for how long, we're not certain. So fire away. My Travel Pal. What's that about?
My Travel Pal is an online marketing and promotions business, and what we do is we have offers, promotions, and deals for the best things to do when you're out and about. So, for example, we promote the likes of bars, restaurants, golf clubs, spas, and so on. The way that we do that is we do e-marketing, we do website, we have a mobile phone application, and we have a database of 1.6 million people, subscribers across the UK, that we push our offers out to help promote businesses. So My Travel Pal really is the place to go if you want to find out the best things to do in your area. We actually franchised the business, Steve, in October last year, not so long after we was at one of those expos. And since then, we sold 19 franchises in the space of 5 months. So it really is taking off, which is great. And yeah, if you're looking for things to do in your local area, you know, please check out mytravelpal.com, and hopefully we can help promote local businesses.
Was that always the plan, to franchise it out, or was that just something that came along and you went, wow, that's a fantastic opportunity, let's take that and go and run with it?
No, it wasn't actually. We basically launched a business, and I've been involved in the business obviously now over a year, and we used it in the UK, and we launched in Chester where our head office is, and it really took off. But then we started picking up a couple of national contracts, so we do like national staff benefits for some of the major businesses across the UK with hundreds of thousands of staff. So we thought, we've got national businesses, we need people in every area promoting and selling offers. So we decided to franchise the business to get national coverage quicker. It's turned out to be a good decision, and as I say, we've got 19 areas now across the country, starting from we're up in Edinburgh, going all the way down to Brighton. So it's really been great that that's taken off, as well as Prime from a recruitment perspective.
I mean, that really is interesting. What were the big issues you came across when it came to franchising it out? Is it the fact that you've got to put do you help people raise money to buy into the franchise? Is it the whole process of running a franchise that is difficult, or do you see it as a legitimate, more straightforward way to bring in your product to market, your brand to market?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you put yourself in the position of someone who's going to take a franchise, there does always have to be an investment, because, you know, that initial investment is what gives you the right to, you know, for example, My Travel Pal in your area. So there does have to be that initial investment, which is sometimes a hurdling point, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that want to set their own business up, but funding can be quite difficult to gain. So, yes, that's the first hurdle that people have to jump. But the concept that we've got is, we know that we can get national coverage quicker. We've got a great concept. We've got a massive database in terms of 1.6 million subscribers. So for us, it was natural progression to try and get national coverage quicker, which is why we franchised the business. And whether we're right or wrong, we'll probably look back in 5 years and see, you know, then whether it was the right reason to do it. But it's certainly been a good start.
And what about other business plans that you're looking at? I mean, obviously you've got My Travel Pal, you've got Prime as well, you've got the motivational speaker. There can't be a lot of time left, actually. But are you looking at starting other businesses? I mean, is there anything else out there that you could actually touch and maybe sort of get some return from? Skype, for instance, has just been suggested to me. Running a Skype alternative.
Yeah, that could be it. I think that definitely could be the next business plan. But in terms of other things going on, I've got obviously two good businesses which I'm really passionate about driving forward. Obviously, the speaking is something that I really, really want to push and pursue further as well, which is great. And the bookings are still coming in, so that's fantastic. And in honesty, when I did do The Apprentice, I got lots of opportunities afterwards. And I suppose I was like a kid in a sweet shop thinking I could do this, and I probably took on too many things. And unfortunately, I think if you spin too many plates, they are going to come crashing down. So for the last kind of 6 months, I've really focused my energy on those three priorities, which is Prime, My Travel Pal, and obviously my speaking opportunities. So I think for the next year, that's where the focus is going to continue. But at the same time, I do mentor as well. So I do help young entrepreneurs which want advice predominantly around sales. And there's two businesses which I've helped for the last year. And again, I do it in my own time. It's something I'm passionate about, is helping young entrepreneurs. And I do that in my own time as well. So it does keep me busy, but, you know, I'm passionate about helping other people that want to get into business, because for me, starting a business was the best thing that I've ever done. And if I can help more people get out there and do it, then that'd be fantastic.
You mentioned there that the advantage of being on The Apprentice was that, I suppose, it would open doors for you. And what do you say then to people who have got good ideas but haven't been on The Apprentice? How do you go about maybe achieving the same kind of success that you've achieved? Because, you know, that's put you in the public eye. You're seen as a public figure, as dare I say it, as a celebrity nearly. So when people see you, they'll listen to you. If Joe Public turns up and he goes, look, I want to start a recruitment company called Prime, we're going to do a bit of sales training and it's going to be a little bit different, they may not get the same kind of traction as you did.
Yeah, completely appreciate that. And I see myself as blessed and fortunate that I've got a profile and a platform now to go out there and get exposure. And I suppose, as hard as it sounds, there are people that I'm probably speaking to today that I probably would have never got the chance to speak to pre The Apprentice. However, the fundamentals of business are just the same for me. The challenges, the highs and the lows are just the same. And for me, if you've got a great idea, I think what you need to do first of all is bounce that idea off your closest circle. Because when I did The Apprentice, I told no one about the plan. I just went in with this concept. And I truly believe that if I would have asked the 5 closest people to me, you know, so my wife, my sister, my mum, my best mates, and so on, by the end of that 5th person, I probably would have had the feedback and I would have changed it. And maybe I've got the plan, you know, a little bit closer to where it needed to be. So I think the first point in business is making sure that you bounce your idea around to make sure that the concept is sound and get that advice. And then the second point is obviously how you can grow that business, because, you know, maybe you haven't done The Apprentice and you need to try and get the message out there. But you can do that. And I think, you know, we've met at numerous business shows now, Steve, and I think the people that go out there and network are the people that are genuinely going to be the people that go on to success, because when you network, it's not about, for me, speaking to like-minded people, i.e. I don't go and network with salespeople because we probably just talk about who's the best salesman for the most of the time. What I do is I network with people that can complement my skill sets. You know, I knew nothing about finance, so I speak to finance directors. So that for me has really helped because it complements my skills and it means that I get the right advice on the areas that maybe I'm not so good at. And that kind of leads me on to probably the third point is I think you need to surround yourself with business partners. When I did the Apprentice afterwards, I launched NWC, which is a consultancy which I've still got, but I did it on my own. And since we launched Prime, which was 5 months ago now, coming up to 6 months, I surrounded myself with 2 amazing business partners, one of which, Nicole, is the best sales trainer that I've ever met. And what she brings to the business is that operational expertise and that expertise in training, which, although I'm a good sales trainer, to have somebody else in there that can really go out there and sell that message with me is fantastic. And then I also brought into the business, you know, a chairman of somebody that's been successful in business where I haven't, so that he can guide me and Nicole on the highs and the lows because he's been there and done that. So I think that tip I'm trying to say is don't be afraid to dilute your shareholding if needed to get the right support around you.
I think a lot of people are very frightened to bring in external people into their business because everybody is so passionate about their business. You see this, and we'll bring up another TV program, Dragon's Den, which to a certain extent has become a little bit of a panto now, a bit of theatre. But the situation that you have there a lot of the time is you have overvalued companies, but you have people who stand up there, and is it better to have 50% of a success as opposed to 50% or 100% of a failure?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget that. And I suppose, once again, we're talking about this cult nearly of celebrity. You know, the Peter Joneses of the world, the Deborah Meenans of the world, they can open doors for these companies and all of a sudden they can start seeing success, can't they?
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, I'm all for, you know, I'd rather have more people involved in my business. As I said, I've got 3 partners in the business, and we're all equally got different skill sets, which means that we're a bigger force. You know, you bring 3 people together that complement each other, it gives us a far greater chance of succeeding in business. And yes, it may mean that you diluted your shareholding, but, you know, if you look at it really simply, at the minute, you know, 100% of nothing, or, you know, 50% of you know, X amount, Y million or whatever in X amount of years' time is going to be far greater. So I completely appreciate why people would have that concern, but I also appreciate more that the skills that you can get from other people will help you go on to be more successful. And the point around the Dragon's Den is right. I actually met a guy from the Dragon's Den at an event I was hosting a few weeks ago. And the great thing about that was he got investment from Deborah Meaden, and he said that actually she's really hands-on and she gives him great advice, and it was a great decision to go on there. So for me, we might not all have, you know, the Deborah Meaden, Peter Joneses, the Lord Sugars of the world, but there are people within your area, probably within your connections, that are very successful entrepreneurs or have great ideas. So why not team up with them and, you know, become one force?
And I think as well that there's a lot of investment that's out there for SMEs, small businesses, even startups, and there are some really good tax advantages. We were talking about on last week's programme about that. And once again, if you want to find out more details about maybe you're somebody, you've got a big pot of money just sitting there at the moment, you're thinking to yourself, do you know, I don't want to pay all of that to the revenue. I'd like to maybe invest into local businesses. I'd like to help maybe somebody get to the position that you maybe find yourself in, have been a success. Once again, if you want to check that programme out, it was the one with Matthew Hall, where we were looking last week, our special on the budget. It's very interesting you say that. And when it comes to finding those people to team up with, how did you go about it? How did you find your chairman? How did you find your business partner?
In honesty, my business partner, starting with Nicole, was quite an interesting one, because after The Apprentice, I written some ebooks around sales. To try and help young people and people looking into business, give them some free advice. So I did that, and I noticed when I asked for some feedback, and one of which Nicole had downloaded, I noticed she had her own training business, so I thought I'll get some great feedback. And out of all the people I asked for feedback, and there was probably around 50 people I emailed, she was the only person that actually came back to me with a few errors in my spelling and a few errors in other area. And I thought, you know what? You've actually given me honest and open feedback there. So I was quite intrigued, and I agreed, and it was right. And I asked her to meet up with her at an event where I was speaking. She came along, and yeah, and that was it. And what I did by meeting her is I went to see her train. She came to see me speak. And then we realised that although we were quite similar, we had different skill sets. And we worked on it for a few months in terms of could we work together in business? Did we have the right values? Did we have the same vision? And it turned out that we did. So obviously that was a slight unique way of meeting. But at the same time, a chairman that we brought into our business was somebody that has helped me massively since doing The Apprentice with advice and support. And I believe that if somebody's willing to give you their time, which it was for free, to help you be successful, then that's a great person to be around. So for me, I don't think you have to look that far. I think you can look at your inner connections, you can look at your own connections, and who are the people that will give you honest and open advice? They're the best people to start with, because for me, business is built on trust. And if you can trust the people around you, then you're already halfway there.
Well, it sounds like that you've got the template right. It looks like you've maximised your return from your investment into The Apprentice. Do you ever talk to Mr. Sugar? Sir Sugar, Lord Sugar?
Yeah, I was going to say Lord Sugar is his title, and yes, I do. I'm really fortunate that I'm in contact for advice, and it's not something that's every week, and it's not something that I bombard him with. But what I would say about Lord Sugar is, as well as being someone I ultra respect, he has given me a lot of advice since The Apprentice, and I think people don't necessarily see that. They see him on the TV as this guy that gives direct feedback. I suppose is a polite way to say it, but actually he is supportive of people that he sees something in, and he's been supportive of me. So yeah, I'm really appreciative of that advice.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's good to know that, because I think sometimes as well that he can be painted with a bit of a dark brush, can't he? And and so can some of the comments that come out. Of course, once again, we've got to remember that it has been edited for entertainment purposes, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a TV show, isn't it? So people ask me this question all the time, is it TV, is it business? And I'd probably say it's 50-50, 50% is TV, and it's about, people tuning in to see the highs and the lows. And let's be honest, the thing that we love about The Apprentice is all the mistakes that get made and some of the idiotic things that people say. But the other 50% is business. And the one thing I learned about The Apprentice was Lord Sugar generally is investing 250k of his own money, and he generally gets it right each time. So the messages that I think you learn from it. But you know what? It makes great TV. And if there wasn't all those mistakes, then we probably wouldn't want to tune in as much as we do.
That's right. We all sit there yelling at the screen. Well, I tell you what, it's been absolutely fantastic. It's been lovely having you on the programme. I think we've got about 7 minutes or so left to go actually on the show. What we normally do, and I don't know whether this is going to be good or whether it's going to be bad, I am going to ask you at the end just to give some takeaways, but just to give us a bit of a summary, maybe if we start wrapping up now to a certain extent, if you just give us a little bit of a summary then, first of all, with the recruitment business, what people need to remember when it comes to putting together their CV, the secret advice that perhaps you might give them on how to successfully get a job by using a recruitment service like your own.
Yeah, okay, well, obviously the first thing I would do, without trying to plug it too much, would be to check out the website, which is www.thisisprime.co.uk. What you will notice is that we are going about recruitment differently, and our passion is about training and developing people to give them the skills they need to succeed within a sales role, which can be target driven, pressurized, and so on. So for me, in terms of the recruitment businesses, if you're interested in getting into sales or recruitment, then please do get in contact with us. You can access that through the website. And my one tip of advice to you, whether it's through us or whether it's through many of the other recruitment businesses across the UK, my bit of advice to you is to stand out from the crowd with your CV initially, because that's what gets you the interview, and think less about the jargon, think less about the words innovation and committed and passionate, and think more about what are your key achievements today in your life that will stand out, and have those 5 or 6 key achievements at the top of your CV. And they can be sporting achievements, academic achievements, and so on. But that's what makes you stand out from what can be a very competitive marketplace. So yeah, if recruitment is something that you're interested in, then obviously please do get in contact with us. But as I say, my one bit of advice is stand out from your CV and make sure you focus on your key achievements and not just jargon.
All right, so that's about the recruitment side of things. Advice then to somebody who's thinking about maybe coming up with a great idea, My Travel Pal, for instance, if they're coming up with an idea and they'd like to franchise it, the things that they can do to ensure that that franchising will be successful.
Well, the first thing that we did was went to some of the franchise shows which are across the country. I'm lucky enough that I speak most of the franchise shows in the UK, so I was fortunate that I was given that exposure. But I only learnt about franchising from actually going there and asking questions. You can also obviously contact the BFA, so the British Franchise Association, which will give advice on it. But for me, franchising was a route for us to get national coverage quicker. We could have employed people across each area and go out that way. We decided we wanted national coverage quicker, and we did that by franchising. So I would always say that franchise is a great way to go out there and sell your concepts and get national coverage. But obviously, you've got to have a sound concept that people are going to buy into. So, and yeah, I can see that we're looking at the website now. But if you are interested in obviously a franchise or getting to know more about franchising or finding out the best offers and deals in your local area, then feel free to go on to mytravelpal.com and check it out.
That is a fantastic site as well. It's a really colourful site, and it really does pull you in. It's a terrific idea. Also an app as well. That's an interesting area to go, actually, isn't it? The whole app and applications. I mean, do you see Prime and both? Obviously, you've got it here for My Travel Pal, but maybe an app that's associated with Prime. Could that be something you'd be working on in the future?
Yeah, and there are things that we are looking at from a digital perspective, and I think any business, whether it's recruitment, whether it's advertising like My Travel Pal, you have to embrace the digital formats now to your exposure, because actually there are ways that things are changing. I mean, just going back onto recruitment, the digital now is really helping recruiters do their work, because some companies now are doing video CVs. So obviously it's similar to Skype when it plays ball or when it doesn't, but people can record themselves now on why they would make a great person for that business. So you can see how digital platforms are now a real kind of evolving the way that business is done. So yeah, I mean, for me, it is really, really simple in terms of business, and it is about embracing the digital platforms that you've got and obviously, using that to your advantage.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know we've battled through it. Since we berated Skype around about 2/3 of the way through, it's got better and better and better, so obviously somebody's listening somewhere. Neil, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the programme. It's been really, really fascinating. Thank you ever so much for coming on the show today. I look forward to seeing you up at the business show, which takes place at Excel a little bit later on this year. We're just a couple of months away from it. Just to remind you as well, the business show, go back to it. The business show 2015, 13th and 14th of May at the Excel. There's a whole host of people that are going to be there. It is a cracking show. I see that you're going to be doing a little bit of keynote speaking as well at the show as well, for that matter. So there you are. Along with the lovely Brad Burton, and also a couple of our guests that we've had on the show too, Dan Spicer from Hootsuite and a few others. So it looks like it's going to be a cracking show. Do you get a lot of return? Final question, actually. Do you get a lot of return when you go to shows? Do shows work for you, be it for Prime or for My Travel Pal?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's less about leads and business being picked up, and it's more about learning and sharing advice and tips, and obviously from where people have gone wrong in business.
We said nice things about Skype at the very last knockings there. At the very last knocking, Skype decided to go what was the name of the comedian that used to have the broken microphone? He'll come to me in a moment. Listen, if you've enjoyed today's show, it's been an absolute pleasure having Neil on the programme, so thank you very much to him for joining. today. And if you like a programme, hopefully with audio that lasts all the way through it, if you like a programme just like this one, that is personalised to your business, then please do get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live. We'll go through all the contact details for you right now. You can always contact us, get in touch, have a word. If you think you're an expert guest and you'd like to be on the programme, to join us in the studio or maybe on Skype, just for the sheer hell of it, you can email us at studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You've got also our Twitter. You can follow us there at BCL Business TV as well. If you'd like to give us a call, you can ring myself or Linda Bazan, my co-director, on 01784 256 777. You can get in touch with us. It's very straightforward, very easy. We're very nice people. If you're wondering where we are, our studios are just outside of West London, and you can come along to the studios and sit down. And as I said, if you own a business and you're thinking to yourself, we already do this for a couple of companies now, if you are thinking to yourself that, you know, I wouldn't mind doing this for my sales force, I'd maybe like to do a monthly catch-up for my customers, you would like a branded program for your business, we can do that as well. And you can talk to us. You can come into the program. We can do, we call it B-roll in the trade. We can go out and we can take some shots of your establishment, your business. We can make it look really, truly like your business as well. And then we can stream it live, be it across people like YouTube or other CDN providers as well. So really, it's all there. If you want more details, as I said, just go along to the website, businessconnectionslive.com. I'm going to try one last thing. Neil, I'm going to say to you, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Steve. Sorry for everyone for the technical difficulties, but you know, I think we got there in the end, and I've really enjoyed it. So thanks again for having me on the show, and really looking forward to seeing you, hooking up with you at the business show.
Looking forward to it as well. Neil, thank you very much indeed. Neil Clough, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for being with us today. And we do it all again next... no, we don't do it next Monday, do we? It's Bank Holiday Monday. We're taking a Monday off. We'll be back the Monday after that. And let me remind you of who our guests are. Coming up in the near future, we have got Kate Cook, nutritionist and author of 5 books. Kate also a sought-after keynote speaker across the corporate sector on well-being in the workplace. We've got Paul Glynn from Sandler Training West 25, who's going to be joining us in a few weeks' time, along with Ian Dixon, multi-award winning business performance coach, and also Richard Tylerman is going to be talking about radio advertising for your business. Just some of the people who are going to be joining us here on Business Connections Live. That wraps up today's programme. It must be time to say our farewells to you. Thank you very much, as always, for contacting us. Do go to the website, businessconnectionslive.com. But from me, Steve Hyland, and from Neil Clough, it's bye for now, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye-bye.